Now it comes to this. Matt was tied down, surrendered helpless in a few moments. He would be killed. The furious heat of a nuclear reactor would weaken the gate, bringing it to the point when it could be finally smashed, and then the knife would plunge into his heart. Somehow his blood hitting the floor would be enough. At the moment Raven's gate would open, Richard couldn't do anything. Even if he managed to break free, he would never reach Matt in time. But there was still the power. Twice Matt had tried to find it inside himself. He had failed to make it work. He had one more chance, but now the villagers had begun to chant. It was a second that Matt had heard before. They began with the same words that had haunted him when he had been alone at Ives Hall. Nob from mob en me neve natra. But now that he was so close to them, Matt could make out what they were saying, and suddenly he understands. I'd assumed they were speaking in Latin or Greek, but it was much simpler than that. It was an old witch's ritual. They were reacting the Lord's Prayer backwards. Matt tried to ignore them. He was aware of the grooming energy beneath him as the nuclear reactor reached critical mass. He knew he had to close his mind to all of it. Why hadn't he be able to break the vase in Richard's flat? Why couldn't he open the door? Then he was Mr. Everett's prisoner. What was he doing wrong? The mumbling filled the room, rising above the soft hum of the ventricular system. Sir Michael held the knife tightly in both hands, waiting for the moment when he would bring it down. This spread over his face. Matt found himself transfixed by the silver blade. This whole business had begun with a knife, the one that Kevin had used to wound the security guard. It seemed that it would end with one to think about the knife, concentrate, make it stop lying on his back. Matt tried to unlock the power that he knew was inside him, but it was no good. Sir Michael was in control. He was smiling to himself as he whispered the words of the invocation. Matt could see the sweat on his upper lip. He was going to enjoy this whole life had built life had built up to it. Underneath the ground control rods moved slowly upwards as they lift the core of the reactor. The neutrons rushed around the enclosed container, traveling at hundreds of miles per second, smashing into each other, releasing incredible heat. And as the control rods rose, so did Raven's Gate. Richard had managed to free one hand, but the other was still trapped, and he was fighting desperately with the rope. But seeing what was happening, he stopped, totally shocked. The great stones destroyed centuries ago were rising out of the floor like monstrous plants. There were 18 control rods, and there was 18 stones, each one sliding up in the next position. that it had once occurred. They were ghosts passing through the floor without touching it, but even as Richard watched, they trimmed, become more solid as they grew taller. Already they were towering above the villagers, forming a new circle behind them. In a few seconds they would be extra as they had been, and Richard knew with a terrible certainty that it would be then that the knife would fall, the old ones would break free. Matt saw all this and closed his eyes. The more he was drawn into events around him, the less control he would have. There he would have. Was there nothing he could do? He had smashed the jug of water. It had been a dream. He had done it, but how desperately he tried to remember how he had felt when he was in the destination centre. What had made him different? Why had it worked then? The whispers growled louder. Now something even more incredible was happening. The colour of the floor inside the circle had changed. The black and white cheeks had been. I hope I get 4,000 watch hours. Washed away by a glow of light red, seemed to be shining through from underneath. The glow become brighter, the colour more vivid, until it was like a vast pool of blood. Suddenly a crack, deep and black, cut a jagged path across the reactor cap. The gate was breaking up. Matt opened his eyes one last time. There was Richard standing outside the circle, still struggling with the rope. There were Jane and Claire Deverell watching with something close to escape the ceiling as industrial lamps and solar pipes. The observation room with the villagers passed forward, rotting through the glass, the flames of the black candles flickering and swaying, and the floor. A speck of darkness had appeared in the red. Matt craned his neck so that he was looking down the length of his body, and beyond the floor had become transparent. He was looking through it into another world. The speak moved. The speak moved. It was climbing, flying, swimming upwards at an incredible speed. For a second he could make out a shape, some sort of creature, but it was too fast. The blackness swelled, bolting out, the red thrusting it aside in a chaos. Swirling bubbles, a bright white stake surged across the surface of the pool. The black thing brushed it away with a shoulder mat, saw what it was, a huge hand. The monster had owned it, must have been as big as the reactor itself. He could see its fingernails, sharp and scurry, and he could make out with a winkling skin or its webbed fingers. It had placed its fist against the barrier, and the crimson bubbles were exploding around it. As it searched for the strength to punch its way through, Matt closed his eyes, and suddenly out of nowhere the answer come. The smell of a burning, that was what I had triggered his power. He had smiled burning when he was sinking into a bog. The small hand had been there in the destination centre when he broke the drug, and even before that, long before that. Now he remembered. remembered his mother had burnt the toast on the morning of the accident that had killed her. Somehow, that tiny accident had become the trigger. He had smelled burnt toast. He had smelt burnt toast with burnt toast the moment before the security guard had appeared in the warehouse. He had known what was about to happen. He stopped trying to influence the knife. He stopped trying to turn something else inside himself. Instead, he thought back to 6 years ago. He was 8 years old again, sitting in the kitchen in South London subway for just a second. A single frame in a film. He saw the yellow painted walls. There was the kitchen cupboard, the teapot shaped like a teddy bear, and his mother. "Come on, Matthew, we're going to be late," he had her voice, and smelled it once again, the toast burning. Inside the nuclear Inside the nuclear reactor, the whispering had stopped. The giant stones of Ravensgate had returned. They stood almost touching the dome of the power station there, one flinty surface almost touching the dome of the power station there, one flinty surface, thousands of years old metal plates. That what the Ravensgate. That what Ravensgate is, a supernatural adventure of the most thrilling kind for times. Subscribe if you like, thank you. Click on my screen.